I just got the cable and I just finished taking a bunch of pictures of this setup here because I want to know how exactly are these cables routed, and I need actual photo evidence before I do so, because at the end of the day, what I am going to do right now is look up for a tutorial online to see if anyone already made a tutorial about how to fix this, but at the same time, I need my own records. So let's go ahead and do that, and then we can get this fixed. And shout out to my nephew because he has this super cool freaking toolkit right here, just exactly what I needed. Apparently, first step is to take this back cover off, so let's do that. The cover is off now. This is what it looks like, and yes, it's very important to be very careful because look how small these screws are. First tricky situation, I have to pull off that cable from there, as like this guy just did here, but it has a little bit of silicone, so I need to use one of these prying tools, or maybe a different one, to see if I can unhook it. And there it is. That was actually easier than I thought. I'm just gonna make sure I remove some of that silicone that's there to make the new installation easier. We have to remove this cover now. So just like this side, we're gonna remove this side. All right, so the cover is off, and as you can see, that's where the little pin connects into. All right, so the cover is off, and there is another plug there. So let's go ahead and remove that. All right, perfect. So it's out. I'm gonna study these bends, and I'm gonna try to replicate them with my new cable, because that's the most straightforward, easiest way. Okay. All right, so this is the location of the first connection. I'm gonna be very careful. This needs to go in there cleanly. Perfect. I think I got it. I used this tool right here with the flat end, and I just tried to apply the as equal amount of pressure on all the sides as possible, and trying to be as delicate as possible because the pins on this connection are very delicate, so I don't want to make a mistake here. Okay, and this is now the perfect moment to apply the first section of the adhesive, which is that back piece, and then once it's ready, set it down right there, and that should stick where it needs to be. Okay, so that's on now. Next up is this one right there. Without the blurriness, that little blue piece has to come off, and this goes on this wall. Okay, perfect. Now that that's on there, I feel like, okay, now it's time to put the cap on here. That way we can clear this section. And that's on. So my only tip is make sure this cable is guided along the ridge that's basically behind here very cleanly, because you don't want to nick it. And then at the same time, because these screws are so small, I'm lucky enough that these are already magnetic, like, so the screws just stick to the tip. But if you don't have that, I would try to get a tool that can magnetize your tips, because it's extremely helpful, especially for these very, very small screws. All right, let's continue to the next section. Okay, so when it comes to guiding the cables, I'm probably at the most complicated section now. I need to make sure that this flap that's sticking out bends inwards into that area, into that crevice, and comes up because it connects to this one. So I'm going to try to do that with these tweezers. These have been extremely helpful. All these tools that you see right here in my immediate vicinity, make sure you have them if you're doing the same repair. Even if I need to, I'll probably have to come to these as well, but I haven't had to use those yet. Right. I've never applied more patience before in my life to do anything. There is the connection. It needs to go right there. And it's basically bent just the right way to go in there. Now I need to be very careful. I need to pull it out and make sure it goes into its slot. And I'm using these tweezers for the whole thing. I'm going to reconsider if I should use a different kind. But this is where we're at right now. So if I succeed putting this on, you're going to see it in just a second. There it is. So I made sure the little bend at the bottom was good enough. And that allowed me to apply this in the correct manner. And of course, I use this again just to flatten it down. And then right now, I need to remove this adhesive in the back. That way I can now guide it through this rail here. The hard part is done. Now even the cable is set with the adhesive on that rail, pretty much on there perfectly. With a little bend down there, the connection is on. We're at the end game. So the next step was to put on the cover, so that's what we're doing. And all I need to do is now put on those screws. All right, so I'm very happy. I got the last plug in. If you guys are trying this, be very careful, very delicate, because the pins that go in there are so small. You have to kind of like wiggle it in, make sure it's seated correctly, and just gently spread force around each corner, around the whole face. And again, by doing that, I'm using this sharp edge. And this is not metal, this is plastic. So I'm being very gentle and just slowly applying force all across the surface until it clicks. I don't just shove it in there and press really hard because you can damage it. Now the next step is to remove this adhesive cover, bend it down here, and then we're pretty much good to go to remount it on the drone. All right, perfect. The last cover is on. Everything is set. So this is gonna go onto this component, and then that goes into the drone. I have a few final connections to put on, which are these. And once those are done, I can connect the battery, of course, by putting the top on and testing if my gimbal actually works now. And if it does, then my drone can live to fly another day and I can use it a little longer before I upgrade. Last thing I did that I didn't think I would need to document, but I did notice, is that this base was a little crooked. So I went ahead and straightened it out just before reattaching my gimbal. That way there's no other errors. All right, perfect. This is the gimbal. It's already on and mounted. And now the only thing remaining is to put it on the drone right there underneath. This is gonna go right below in this section. I'm gonna connect those 4 cables that we see here, and then I can test it. All right, perfect. So the camera is on. And now, just a reminder, just in case you guys are at this step, just make sure those 4 screws are in, and then it should hold in place. Now we need to put this on, this one, and that one onto the respective connections, and then we can put the top on. Perfect, perfect. Now they are all on. Just remember to be very gentle when you're connecting them. You don't want to force anything. Now let's just throw on the hull, which I need to show you guys. Look at that big dent. But fortunately for me, I removed this and I noticed that there's no actual damage to what's on here, which is a GPS module. I'm just gonna have to live with this or soon buy a new cover so that I don't have to look at that. But since it's all just plastic, it's whatever. It's just something aesthetic. Right, last thing, remember when putting it back on to reconnect this there and your power, which is this cable right here. Make sure, sorry, not this one, but that one. Make sure those are connected and make sure that one's connected, and then you can place this down onto this and put on all the screws. All right, so this is the moment of truth. The drone has been reassembled. All I'm gonna do now is put on the battery and see if I can toggle the view, because if I can't, then I got bigger problems on my hands. All right, so here it is. So I already put on the battery. Let's see if this works. And you guys are gonna see the camera right there. Let's turn on the controller. The drone. Oh, it started moving. Hell yeah, there it is. All right, let's see, let's move it. Yup, there it goes. Perfect, it moves up and down just like it should. All right, so we have the drone outside. Let's take off, even just for a little bit. I just want to make sure it hovers perfectly stable, that all the systems are good. If all goes well, then yeah, I can basically state that I fixed my drone. Perfect. All right, so perfect. So I just took off. I realized that the flight patterns were just a little unpredictable. Like it would go up and down or off to the side a little bit. So reasonably speaking, I ran a whole entire recalibration of the compass and of the drone itself for its, I think it's called AUI sensors. And once I did that, then the drone was behaving just like it intended. I can't wait to start making more footage with my drone pretty soon, starting tomorrow, of course.